Attention carriers, brokers, and dispatchers. You're tuned into the eCarrierCheck channel, where we bring you the insider tips, tricks, and insights to drive your sales and logistics business to new heights. Each week, your hosts, Jared and Nate, sit down with the top professionals in the industry, diving deep into everything from prospecting and cold calling to maintaining carrier relationships and maximizing your bottom line. Learn real-world strategies, hear success stories, and get actionable advice you can implement in your business today. So buckle up and get ready for an entertaining and informative ride. This is the eCarrierCheck channel, your source for can't-miss logistics intelligence. Stay tuned.
Hey, good morning. Happy Wednesday. Tire Killer, what is up, brother?
Heading to Chicago. You still doing steel loads? God, I like this guy, man.
I did too.
Always just, obviously, last time he dominated, got that award.
Yeah.
Tire Killer, it's always good to see you, brother.
Yeah, man. Good to see you, man. Thanks for being here. It's Wednesday, brother. Halfway through the week. Today we're talking some carrier sales rep on how to be successful.
Yeah.
You know, we obviously we talk to a lot of new brokers, right? But we also get those ones that are focused on carriers, you know, sourcing carriers, and the ones that focus on sales. So it's kind of nice we kind of break things up, right?
Yeah.
So I'm excited to kind of pick through your brain and just kind of see how people can be successful when they're sourcing carriers.
Yeah, and I love this side of it operationally. These are the people that are really just stepping up for the brokers and pulling across the finish line.
And you love this too, because you love carrier. You're a big carrier guy.
Yeah.
And you've been preaching it, man. You've been preaching, call those carriers and areas, just have a conversation. So yeah, I'm really excited to kind of see what you got for me today.
Yeah. Yeah, I think carrier sales reps.
What's up, George?
George, what's going on, brother?
What's going on,
to have
Gabe?
you guys on. For those of you who are sourcing carriers as a freight broker, put it in the comments. What seems to be hitting what's working for you when you're talking to them, when you're communicating with them. How often are you repeating?
Mm-hmm.
I think the ultimate goal. America is really wildly small. So is North America, really. If you think about, we're just talking North American logistics. We're not talking Pakistan or Eastern Europe right now. We're just talking about North America. And really, it's wildly small. You know what I mean? And so I think, Gabe said something the other day. I don't remember when he said this on his post, but he said that it's just a relationship industry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wildly short. I almost feel like we could go have coffee with anybody watching.
Right.
It's ham and eggs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When it first comes to mind, whenever I talk to someone that strictly does carrier sourcing, my first question always is, how do you find the carriers now? What are you doing you like to put, how do you casting your net?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
A lot of people tell me, they're posting on the load boards, or they'll fall back to their TMSs and kind of look, okay, who ran this for me last time? What did we win it for? And they kind of go that route.
Right.
We actually had a scenario this week where we were helping another brokerage. Although a carrier fell off.
Yep.
They showed up with the wrong equipment. They're picking up 80-foot rail, showed up with the wrong equipment. And they got an eCarrierCheck, and we were helping them out step by step.
Yeah.
And we started calling carriers in that area. We started blasting emails. So that's the part of that casting the net, emails, calling, posting, right?
Yeah.
So that's usually my first question. How do you source carriers, and what can we do to add to your net?
Yeah. And we see the gambit of sourcing.
Yeah.
Like if we were going to chat about, all the different venues of how people find trucks, I mean, it's wild. You know what I mean? Like I see people on LinkedIn that are connected with me that are using LinkedIn to find trucks. I think more carriers honestly need to be on LinkedIn, to be honest with you. I think people on LinkedIn are, it's gotten a little bit, Facebooky, but
Yeah.
I do think that genuinely people are at work and they're genuinely trying to build
Mhm.
relationships that
Yeah.
that can fit into their
Right.
workspace. But we see it on LinkedIn. We see obviously load boards, and there's woo man, the load board industry is obviously there's two dominant players, right? You got Truck Stop, you got that, 123's in there. Highway just came out with their own load board.
Mm.
So there's going to be all these load boards,
Right.
but it's like, where do you go to get the freight, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And then there's the uh, arrhythmic way of looking for carriers on eCarrierCheck, where we bring you one of the best algorithmic way of finding carriers through our data source.
Mhm.
And I think, I still hate to say this, but I think that still, if you have a little more time, it's one of the best ways to find carriers.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
100%. And yeah, Gabe, you're right. Relationships, relationships, relationships. And George, you're also right, man. Transparency is big in this industry as well. We have to have transparency and trust and communication.
Yeah.
On both ends for sure.
On
Yeah.
any relationship, George kind of hit it on the head. I mean, we're trying to maybe potentially hide or make some money on top of what the
Mhm.
carrier's making. And so, being fully transparent. Hey, here's what we're doing. Here are the in and out times. Here's all the information you're going to need to be successful.
Right.
So there isn't that resentment from the carrier
Yeah.
going, this guy's making, thousands on me,
Mhm.
which in most cases isn't the truth.
Right.
But I definitely think, making sure you've got a good rhythm. Those carrier guys, carrier sourcing guys, they're out there doing bids.
Right.
They're out there trying to cover the day-to-day freight.
Mhm.
They're out there doing the check calls for the contract freight that's underneath it. And really what's the ultimate strategy is, I think you should be looking to utilize the same mix of carriers consistently, or you should be tracking this. The carrier reps should be tracking what's my repeat usage, right? When you look at the last month of carrier mix, what am I looking at?
Right.
You can't measure what you don't look at, right? And so carrier sourcing guys, they should be looking at, how often am I using the same carriers, or am I just going to the load boards
Yep.
and kind of following the stream?
Yeah. It's funny. I was talking to a broker on Monday, Jared, and he has a guy out of Louisiana. He'll call this dude. And he's a new broker, so mind you, okay, he's got this one really good relationship. He has the guy's phone number. He'll text him, loads, and it's always been bad with timing. Hey, I already got my carrier booked. Sorry, Sam. And then Sam will call again the next day and say, hey, you got it? Is your guy available? No, it's just bad timing.
Yeah.
So I told Sam, I was like, hey, man, like, you're doing a good job, man. You got a guy's phone number. You're texting this guy. You're not even posting. Obviously, when he's busy, he posted, but it's like, keep growing that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Grow 5 more relationships in Louisiana that you can continue to call and text. And then last case scenario, you post, right? So when I talk with like the people that are just carrier sourcing in general, that's all they do all day is carrier source.
Mm-hmm.
On that downtime, I try to encourage them, call some carriers in that area,
Yeah.
right? We talk about that and just try to cast that net. But I think one of the hardest part is especially for the newer ones that are in this industry, is how do you actually talk to a carrier, how to be transparent. I think they have trouble with that. Like, they're afraid to say things that might mess up this or mess up that. So I don't know. It's tough. It really is tough. Sales is tough too, but I think building a relationship it can also be overwhelming and tough as well.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of carrier. I think carrier reps need to they need to be going the same speed as the carrier.
Okay.
I think what happens too, and we see this a lot, right, is where reps are looking for rates. They want to get their project done. They're just trying to get things either booked,
right,
or finished and move to the next load. A lot of carrier reps are wildly thin, right? And so when they're calling carriers, I think they may be going too fast, right? I think they're not just going, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Is that something you have? Instead of going, hey, what do you got? And they're just hanging up, right?
Yeah.
I thought what was interesting about the load you were talking about yesterday is when we were talking to them and working with them, hey, here's a list of 60 carriers. And within that 60 carriers, they found the right person. What was wildly interesting is that carrier was already set up in their TMS.
Mm,
And a TMS can almost be like a bad CRM, bad data in, bad data out,
right.
right? TMS also can cover your ass. You get in an accident, you better have that paperwork in hand. You better have that insurance certificate, all those things.
Right.
But take a moment, for the love of God, we go so fast in this industry, including me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we need to make sure that we're taking good notes and three-dimensionalizing our TMS, not just one-dimensionalizing our TMS,
Yeah.
so that you know, shit, I should have just called this guy,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like why you're almost looking for the next one when it could all just be underneath your nose,
Right.
which was wild, by the way.
Yeah. And I think too, another thing you kind of highlighted over quickly is asking the questions, right? Like just like when you're on a sales call, you always try to get another question in. If that carrier can't help you, hey, do you know anyone else in the area that could or has this equipment?
Yeah.
I did hear you telling that broker the other day, they ask if you know someone.
Mm-hmm.
Carriers know someone. You know what I mean? They got
Yeah.
friends, they got relationships as well.
Absolutely.
And if you got a good carrier on the phone, I'm sure they'll steer you in the right direction.
Yeah. I think you have to ask that question every time.
Yeah. I agree.
Especially when you're looking for specialty equipment or local local runs.
Okay.
If you're trying to go from New Jersey to California, those cats don't know anybody. They're just running those lanes.
Okay.
But if you're looking for somebody, hey, you know anybody that's doing this type of equipment in Chicago, just staying in Chicago?
Yeah.
Oh, believe me, they're a tight circle or a closer circle, or sometimes they've had to be using some of those companies.
Yeah.
And so, especially Texas DOT, they all have a connection, the next connection. Hey, I got two brothers. I got a cousin.
Yeah.
I know three guys, my neighbor. It's wild. Texas is wildly, they're very, very close, when it comes to those
And that's why I love eCarrierCheck too, because you can get on there and look up DOT guys.
Yep.
And if you're doing, especially, Texas to Texas, let's call these guys up and like just do what you said. They know someone if they can't do it. But I like how eCarrierCheck is laid out to where you can go on there and it's always gonna, it's always gonna select MC numbers. But if you go hit DOT numbers, here's all these DOT guys that you could probably be, helping out.
Yeah.
Or they could help you out.
Yeah. Something you said just a couple minutes ago about, the turn and burn conversation, but also even just, and this was something that I thought was interesting when you were talking to him is, hey, what are your lanes that you're running? What other type of equipment do you have? And taking a little bit of time so that, oh, wait a minute, I have this guy that can help me on this bid, or I have this guy. I think having those conversations too, as a carrier rep, you should have 2 or 3, questions that kind of hit home.
Okay.
Hey, what are the lanes you're running? What kind of equipment are you looking for? Because you've got to fit into their operations as well.
I agree.
Right? It's got to be it's got to fit 2 ways.
I agree.
It can't be a one-sided relationship.
Oh, I 100% agree, because I know there's a lot of carriers out there that are running lanes that they don't want to.
Yeah.
But if you're 100%, man. If you ask these carriers, hey, what lanes do you run? Which lanes would you rather run? Let's see if we can match something that makes it work, right?
Absolutely.
So, but I do know that I've talked to many carriers and they're like, Nate, I just need to find something that works for me. I want to be home on the weekends.
Yeah.
I need to find some more local work. And then they get on eCarrierCheck and they're doing their own sales.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if they're not looking up, shippers on eCarrierCheck, they're looking up brokers in the area. So you got anything local?
Right.
Trying to stay home. So
yeah, I love the question of asking, how do you prefer to be communicated with?
Yeah, you can talk about that one. That's a good one too.
Anytime you can text a carrier, anytime you can just shoot them an email or a quick call, understanding what works for them is wildly important when it comes to those operational aspects.
Yeah.
Right? It also helps if you're brought in on sales calls. Hey, I know this guy's network. I know how to get a hold of him. Here's what we do. And it just, there's a lot of 2-for-1 sales calls. If you can, if it's a sales rep, if you can bring in some of your operational people to close a deal, don't be afraid to, because it allows them to communicate more about what that shipper's dealing with and what they're up to. You know what I mean? I think I became more well-rounded when I started doing driver ride-alongs and I started to understand how to tarp a load, or I started dealing with carrier sales, or I started dealing with operations. When you can bring in that other piece of the puzzle, you don't always have to be the closer. You can bring in a guy and just say, hey, I've been talking to this guy about flatbeds out of friggin', Alamogordo. How many carriers do you know in that area? Oh, you do? Do you know any that go back to Southern California? Oh, you do? Can you be on this call with me?
Yeah.
And 2-for-1 these things.
Yeah.
Because the carrier sales reps, honestly, we know a couple, that are wildly good at their job.
Mhm.
They know operational flow. They know cost per mile.
Yeah.
They can talk cost
It's
wildly
insane,
quick.
yeah.
Yeah, they can talk cost really quick. I think that was what made my success as a truckload sales rep well, is that I understood the costs. I understood, how are we going to load this? I understood where we're going to load it, unload it, all the importance of that piece of equipment and things like that. And so that's what really those carrier sales reps have to kind of engulf themselves into what shippers are doing. They don't get enough reps in talking to those shipping managers and what they're talking, what's important to them.
Yeah.
So they've got to be exposed more to those shipping managers.
Yeah. You're just spitting this morning, man. I
We
love
just
it.
gotta
Coffee's
go.
hitting today,
We got to
boys.
go.
I love
what
it.
I mean?
Yeah, Jeff Dickinson said that last week too. You guys really do see the same when it comes to, if you get yourself in a truck and do like a ride along, I think that's huge. You really get to see, what it really takes as a carrier, because the carriers have a tough job, man. Especially if they're tarping, doing shit like that. Like, you don't really understand until you get into the truck with them and see what they really do.
Yeah.
And imagine not being home for three weeks, a month at a time. Like, it's stressful. So, but yeah, getting really to know the carriers, really what they go through, take care of them. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of ways to be successful as a carrier rep, in my opinion. But taking care of your carrier is one thing that comes to mind every time. You got to take care of them.
And I think, obviously we don't talk about this enough, but understanding how they get paid.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
A lot of carriers have factoring, a lot, but not all of them. And so being completely transparent, George talks about being transparent.
Yep.
We got to be transparent how we're going to cut a check, how we're going to pay you with an ACH. Are we going to pay you in 15 days? Are we paying you in 30 days? In some particular cases, or we're paying in 10 days, 7 days, whatever it may be. Carriers have to have that cash to put fuel in their trucks, to pay for their insurance, to get the friggin' maintenance on those tires or whatever it may be, right? And so I think it's wildly important to have some of those tough conversations up front. They're not even tough, but it's important. Cash is important.
Yeah.
How are you going to pay us? You know what I mean? Because if you're a carrier sales rep and you're looking at carriers, the first thing you're looking at is safety. The first thing that carrier is looking at, are they going to pay their damn bills?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's what, having that conversation up front, don't hide around it. Let's just, hey, here's how we pay. Does that work for you?
Right.
Or do we need to find a different solution?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. The one thing too, just kind of add some more eCarrierCheck shout outs here, is we have a really cool filter on our feature, I should say, on eCarrierCheck. If you're struggling finding, let's say if I use Tire Killer Weekly and I want to find more tire killers, I know there's only one out there because he's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
But imagine him trying to find more like him, because he does great work, right?
Yeah.
We have a nice kind of feature on here to find similar carriers to him. And I think that's just another way of opening it, throwing out that net too. We don't really talk a lot about eCarrierCheck features like this. So I think it's a really good tool to really help you take your carrier sales rep to the next level.
Yeah.
It's a lot of picking up the phone and emailing. But if you do all the hard work now and create those relationships later down the road, I feel like it gets a little bit easier. So eCarrierCheck is a super great tool, obviously, to source carriers. One of a kind, really.
And I would say it's the actual benefit of eCarrierCheck isn't the aspect of sourcing carriers. It's being able to source carriers in a quick manner. We found if you were thinking about, okay, how do I find more stretch flatbeds? That's what we were looking for the other day.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I can start looking for like heavy haul companies.
Right.
But do they have that? Nah, maybe not, right? And to be able to go through, I think it was a little less than 60 carriers were called.
Yeah.
They found a replacement. Before, if I was trying to find that, I'd be sorting them by their classifications of poles or, logs and oversized and all that stuff, where we're really, like I said, our algorithmic patterns of searching will speed up your time. And as a carrier sales rep and as Stretch Armstrong as they get, each call, you better make each call count.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Especially if it's if
you're in a hurry. Yeah. If you're in a hurry
load
and you don't have a choice, guess what?
Yeah.
ECC will save the day.
Oh, 100%, man. Definitely one of a kind. It's definitely come a long way to more of a user-friendly platform. I hear that almost every day. It's like, hey man, this is super user friendly.
Yeah.
A lot of people go back to our old videos and they're like, it doesn't look the same,
Yeah.
but it's more
Thank
user
God.
friendly. Yeah, thank God. That's what our wonderful developers, man, they have made this super user friendly, and a lot of it came back from our user reviews and just
Yeah.
user input. Like, hey, this would be easier this way, this way. I know there's a lot of other things that we get, inputs, but
Mhm.
it has definitely come a long way, and it has definitely changed a lot of people's lives.
Yeah.
Which I love to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. I I think something that's wildly important to talk about is tangible points of having a conversation with a carrier.
Mhm.
If we can hit on that before we close out here, we got a few minutes here left. But um, first off and foremost, talk at their pace. If they're going quick, you're going quick. If they're going slow, we're going slow. They also want to get to the point fairly quickly, right? So don't beat around the bush. Just say, hey, this is Jared over to eCarrierCheck. I'm looking for somebody that can help with this lane with this type of equipment. Is that you?
Mhm.
And simply that'll get the ball rolling,
Yep.
right? If they say no, then you can probably just move on, right? You're going to have those conversations.
Mhm.
But I would get to the point fairly quickly so that they know what's going on, because guess what? They're getting pulled in a lot of different ways. They're in the truck or they're out.
Mhm.
So the starting conversation, and we get this a lot. Well, what do we say to carriers? Well, here's what you say. Here's what I'm looking for. Here's what I'm doing. Does this work for you?
Mhm.
Just shut up, right? Let them talk,
Yeah.
right? If you're just in the mindset of I got to rebuild some relationships with carriers, then it's a little bit different of a conversation. Then you're going in and going, hey, this is Jared over to eCarrierCheck. I see that we're set up in our TMS, which this guy was, but I don't know much about your company. Can you tell me a little more about your equipment or the lanes that you like to run?
Mhm.
Boom, there's a
Mhm.
question, right? And so you should be prepared as a carrier sales rep to have those questions, but be prepared to what you're trying to get accomplished at the
Okay.
end. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Get quick to the point, or try to build a relationship and start to work through it.
Okay.
Right?
I like that tip, Jared. I like it. I like it, Jared. That was a great tip right there, man. I appreciate your time, man.
Yeah.
Just kind of,
And we just gotta go.
yeah. I mean, we get a lot of people that ask us this stuff too, so I'm glad we got to talk about
Yeah.
this. So it's good stuff. Let's change some lives. You know
Yeah,
what I
that's
mean?
what we do.
So,
So
if any of you guys are interested in seeing more of eCarrierCheck, hit us up. support@eCarrierCheck.com. We'll do some demos with you.
Yeah.
The nice thing, you get to talk to us too, or one of us.
yeah, it's right here.
Um,
Everybody's in the picture.
Everybody's in the picture. You'll get to talk to us. So make sure to hit subscribe and hit the notifications, just in case we pop up and do a live show at a random time.
Right.
I think we're gonna go live Friday.
Yep.
I'm not sure what we're gonna do just yet.